Okay, so round 10 of the NRL season has now concluded. Women in League round this weekend. It is Mother's Day down in Australia this weekend. We've had some really interesting results. A lot of comeback wins as well. One golden point draw. One team scored no points. And the Bulldogs are still the top team in the NRL. And the Bulldogs Raiders game was one of the best games I've seen in quite some time. Definitely a tale of two halves there. But the weekend's action was started with the Eels against the Dolphins. The Eels lose yet again. The Dolphins, coming off the back of two defeats, get a narrow win, 20 points to 16. As I feared for the Eels, this is going to be a very, very long season, and they do run the risk of being tailed off at the bottom of the ladder. They are in games now. They are improving from where they were to start the season. They are scrapping and fighting, but they're just not getting the rub of the green. They've only had a couple of wins this season, and they do run the risk of being cut off and isolated at the bottom of the ladder. This is going to be a very tough season for the Eels. And with Origin coming up and Mitch Moses now fit, they look better with Mitch Moses in the side. But even with Mitch Moses back in the side, this Eels team is well, they're competitive in games at the moment. They're not on the same level as the rest of the league. The Dolphins. They've had a mixed, inconsistent season, but they've got back to winning ways after two defeats. And, they are a mid-table side at the moment. There is a chance they could make the top eight and make that progression that is expected. But a lot of people predicted they would miss the top eight. Time will tell. The Origin period will be quite telling for the Dolphins as well. They've got a lot of players eligible for Origin selection, and we are yet to find out the Origin squads. The Knights Titans. Tale of two really underperforming sides this season. It's 20 points to 24 to the Titans. Both sides have underperformed this season drastically. The Titans get the win. Both sides, however, are still performing well below expectations. Adam O'Brien is a coach under a lot of pressure. This win eases the pressure on Des Hasler. The David Fafita question. He's out injured at the moment. Will he return to the side? Will he be stuck in reserve grade? That is a question. Will there be a roster clear out? Will Des Hasler see out his contract? There's a lot of questions with the Titans, but they get a win, a crucial win. The Knights, after that really strong win last weekend, expecting more at home. Yeah, their season's fast unravelling, and they're looking likely to miss the eight at the moment. Although, with how things look in the ladder, a couple of wins can completely, positions can change very, very quickly. But the Knights been disappointing this season. The Titans have also been disappointing this season, but that's an important win for the Titans. Gives them a bit of confidence going forward. The Rabbitohs Broncos. The Rabbitohs had a brilliant start to the season. It's sort of tailed off. They get a 22 point to 14 win against the Broncos. Latrell Mitchell had one of his better games. I still don't think he's an NRL fullback. I think he's more of a left centre is his best position. But that's where Wayne Bennett wants to play him at the moment, is in the fullback role. He does have an impact on the game, especially with that 2-point field goal. The Broncos season, much like the Rabbitohs, is starting to derail as well. And Michael Maguire is questioning the players' commitment and attitude. So there are some issues with the Broncos. We're seeing the same frailties reoccur time after time. The Bunnies get the win, but both sides have been very inconsistent this season. They both had strong starts to the season, and their form has tailed off somewhat. So, while this was a close game, and it could have gone either way, the Bunnies will have tougher tests going forward. There are a lot of better sides in the NRL than these two sides. The Broncos, though, they have the talent and the ability. It's got to be a mental thing. It's got to be a confidence thing, because we're seeing the same issues reoccur with different coaches now. This is not just a Michael Maguire problem. Kelly Walters had this problem. Anthony Seibold had this problem. There's clearly an issue with the confidence side of things when things turn against this Broncos side. So there's things to look out for with the Broncos. They need to improve somewhere. Is it attitude? Is it game management? Ben Hunt is now out injured, so the Ezra Mam question is going to rear its ugly head as well. Will Jock Madden get a run in the side? He has been told he is free to leave, but there's now question marks over the halves combination with Adam Reynolds, with Ben Hunt's injury. Their season could derail quite rapidly from a promising start. The Bunnies, it's an important win for the Bunnies. They've had some tough defeats. I don't think the Bunnies are a top 8 side yet. Although, if they can build some confidence, build some momentum off the back of this win, maybe. We shall see. Now, the Raiders-Bulldogs was a tale of two halves. It was 20 points to nil at half-time to the Raiders, and the Raiders were playing like I haven't seen the Raiders play in a very long time. The Bulldogs, short on numbers, they've got players out injured and suspended. 20-0 down. Second half, the Bulldogs looked like they were a full-strength squad, and the Raiders looked like they were men down in regards to their top 17. They win 32 points to 20. Ridiculous game. I think both sides attacked really well when they had the ball. When the Raiders were on top in the first half, they ripped the Bulldogs to pieces. The Bulldogs, however, they don't mind being behind at half time, and this was a brilliant comeback win. The Bulldogs, this Bulldogs side are the real deal. I mean, I think this Raiders side is the real deal as well. A lot of people were writing off both the Bulldogs and the Raiders before the season. A lot of people were saying that the Bulldogs, that was a one-off under Cameron Serraldo. A lot of people put the Raiders down as one of the teams to finish at the bottom, potential wooden spoonists. Both these sides are still in the top four. The Bulldogs are now got a little gap at the top of the ladder as well. This Bulldogs side, for me, is a dark horse for the Premiership this year. They should not be discounted. They have an energy and a commitment and a team unity, and there's a confidence about them. Doesn't matter who's in the lineup. They've only had the one defeat this season. They look the real deal. And yes, they've got players missing right now through suspension and injury, but they look the real deal, quite honestly. They've obviously built on last year. They've kicked on from last year. The Raiders as well. Not much was expected of the Raiders, and while they've lost this game and that ends their winning streak, they can learn a lot from that in their game management, taking their opportunities. I'm not overly. Of course, it's disappointing to lose, especially as I'm a Raiders fan. But that Bulldog side, they a lot of people are underestimating them. They will have some defeats in this season. They've only had the one so far. There will be tough challenges ahead for this Bulldog side, but you cannot doubt their commitment to each other, the confidence with the team, the culture within the team, that team unity, their fitness levels, their energy levels. This Bulldogs side look dangerous, and I think while they will have some tough challenges through the origin period into the second half of the season, they are at the benchmark at the moment, and they are, in my opinion, better than everyone else. Not just because they're at the top of the ladder, but I think they are better than everyone else with just how they're playing and what they're building there. Now, the Dragons Warriors. What is it with the Dragons losing tight games? 14 points to 15 to the Warriors. And that missed field goal. The Warriors do get the field goal. Metcalf is really developing as a player. Wateni Zelezniak back in the side following a wrist and hand injury in pre-season, which is good to see. The Dragons, when it comes to a close game, they fluffed their lines, and this is becoming frustrating with the Dragons under Shane Flanagan. If it's a close game, they're more likely to lose than win, and this is another close game where a field goal has separated it, much like the Bunnies earlier in the season. Losing at home is tough. The Warriors, much like the Bulldogs, I think people are underestimating them. They are the real deal this season. Last year was a bit of a slip back, a bit of a blip. They did have a lot of injuries last year, but they're doing something down in New Zealand with the Warriors, much like the Bulldogs. People should not discount this side. They had a tough start to the season in Vegas against the Raiders, losing in the manner they did, but since then they have bounced back. Yes, they've had a couple of defeats, but this Warriors side is the real deal. And Harris, Tavita and Metcalf as a halves pairing is working really well. They've really developed as a halves pairing in the off-season. They've worked hard. The combinations are there. The forward, they're winning without Fisher Harris, and that was what people thought they were lacking. I mean, again, the origin period is going to be interesting. Normally that doesn't impact the Warriors. They don't have a lot of players up for origin selection, but this year they're going to have players up for origin selection, like Barnett, for example, will be eligible again for origin. He wants to carry on wearing that Blues jersey, so they're in the conversation, and they're a dark horse, much like the Bulldogs, for the Premiership, in my opinion. And they are chasing the Bulldogs. There's that little gap, but they are chasing the Bulldogs. They're not giving up on chasing them down. Obviously, the Raiders had an opportunity to go top as well, and of course the Bulldogs defended their lead, first versus second. So the top four is really interesting this year. Who would have thought that Melbourne would be the only favourite still in the top four from the start of the season? Now, the Cowboys-Panthers was, for me, Well, the Raiders Bulldogs was a fantastic game to watch. This Cowboys Panthers 30-all draw was, for me, the game of the round. It went to Golden Point. How both sides fluffed it in Golden Point with their field goal attempts and their setup plays was a bit disappointing. You can see the Panthers are still lacking a bit of confidence with how their season's gone, but their attack, it looked a little bit clunky at times. The Cowboys, they had some brilliant plays, although the Panthers were never behind. The Cowboys were always chasing the Panthers, and the Panthers did have a couple of double-digit leads at times in this game. The Cowboys stuck in there, and some of the Cowboys' tries. I mean, Purdue, he's brilliant, and he's keeping Labour out the side. Labour obviously recovering from that knee injury, and they're two great young centres. I mean, Purdue's actually more of a halves player, but he's keeping Labour out the side, and Labour had a good bright start to his NRL career before that knee injury last year. So the Cowboys also have options in depth, which they haven't had in recent seasons. The Panthers, their depth is being tested. They did go with a split forwards backs interchange bench, which was a bit strange. Has that come back to bite them a little bit, not having Schneider on the field to potentially also add another field goal option? I don't know, but they definitely got their setups wrong in Golden Point. The fact it was the first tie of the season as well is an outlier. Fantastic game, 60 points scored, but there'll be a game where more points were scored, and that is the Storm Tigers, 64-0 to the Storm. Now, the Storm coming off the back of a defeat are always dangerous opposition. It's very rare they lose consecutive games back-to-back. It doesn't happen often. The Tigers were on the back end of an absolute Ryan Pappenhausen show, because I think he scored 32 points in this game. It was the Ryan Pappenhausen show. Absolute thumping win for the Storm. The Tigers, while they are much improved from where they have been in the last 3 seasons and even before then, they were in the top 8 going into this game, and they had the 5th best defensive record at this point in the season. Yeah, their defence got absolutely annihilated. They never looked on. They just looked second best. They didn't look focused. They didn't look up for the fight. The Storm, clearly coming off the back of that disappointing defeat to Canberra up at Magic Round in the deluge, just went out and blitzed them. Just went out and absolutely blitzed them. And Ryan Pappenhausen, I mean, what a player. I mean, he's had his injuries, but he's got to put himself in the Origin conversation with that performance, surely. I can't believe. I mean, injuries have hampered his career, but he's a fantastic player. He's a little bit on the small side for, NRL standards in regards to size, but his speed and his movement and his interplay is brilliant. He drove this side forward from fullback, and it was a brilliant performance by Pappenhausen. 64-0 though. That's got to be that's a statement from the Storm. But the Storm have still got weaknesses in this side. I think the Tigers were that bad today that covers up a few weaknesses that have been exposed in recent weeks. They've had a fantastic start to the season. The last month they've been a bit shaky, a bit inconsistent. On another day and another team playing them, maybe those weaknesses in defence and game management that have been there in the last month get exposed. But that was a statement win from the Storm, saying, hey, we're not out of the reckoning yet, and they are in the top 4. The top 4 is very interesting. We'll look at the ladder in the week, because it's very, very interesting after round 10 where teams are at and what their points totals are. The final game of the weekend was between the Sea Eagles and the Sharks. The Sharks were up at half-time 14-0. The Sea Eagles got back to 14-0 with 2 ridiculous tries and a penalty, and then the Sharks came back to life and blitzed them with some great play at the end of the second half. The Sharks are slowly building. They're still not quite at the same level as the top 4. I think there's a little bit of a gap between the Bulldogs, Warriors, Raiders and the Storm over the Sharks. I do believe that. I think there's still a way to go with this Sharks side getting their attack right and their performances to 80-minute performances, because they were on the rack in the second half. They were 14 points up, and with the amount of comebacks we've seen, and a lot of these games had comebacks in them, they looked all at sea for about 15-20 minutes in the second half, and then they get control of the game, and they take control. And Mulatalo's had a bit of fun on his left wing. Stone Street not scoring a try is a bit of an odd one for the Sharks this season, because generally when he scores one, he scores two. He's not got a hat trick yet. He gets a lot of doubles, but he was kept scoreless on the right wing, which is interesting considering his tries per game ratio is ridiculous. But the Sharks were tested in this one, and the Sea Eagles. There's concerns about Tom Trbojević's fitness. He did not look 100%, heavily strapped knee, and that's got to be concerned both for the Sea Eagles and New South Wales for selection. He doesn't look right at all. The Roosters had the bye this weekend. The Roosters have started to build some momentum. Could that kill their momentum a little bit? Not playing this weekend. It'll be interesting to see how the Roosters perform next weekend, coming off the bye. And then we're going to get into Origin selection territory for both Queensland and New South Wales. It's going to be interesting who does get selected for both teams. There's some selection headaches. There's some players out of form. There's some players injured. Then there's some players who have been on the periphery of Origin or never been selected before who are, really shining this season. And, of course, now AJ Brimson switching allegiance from Australia to England will now mean that he is illegible for Origin, and so therefore not eligible for Queensland. So there are some selection headaches for both Laurie Daly and Billy Slater to consider. It's going to be interesting what the Origin squads look like. But there we go. There is round 10 in the books. We will do a preview of round 11 shortly. Keep your eyes peeled for that. But thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts on the weekend's action in the comments section below. And I've got an idea now for some more NRL videos coming up. I'm going to look at the NRL records, club records. That's going to be kind of fun to do. There'll be little short, sharp videos. But I'm going to be looking at some of the NRL records for like points, appearances, tries, field goals, that kind of thing. Because that could be quite interesting, looking at how all 17 clubs stack up, who are the record holders thus far. And with the records that currently stand, for example, Cameron Smith's overall points and appearance record, what are the closest players to him? Adam Reynolds is closest on points, but who's the closest on appearances of active players who could potentially overtake Cameron Smith with some of the records he holds in the game? But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below, and we'll have some more content for you all very, very soon.